Hi everyone, I want to talk about the 5 themes of geography today, and then we're going to dig a little deeper into one of those themes, which is location. So I'm going to go ahead and start by reading our passage here from Studies Weekly. Maps help us explore the world. When we study geography, we are asking questions about various people and places around the world. Questions about geography fit into 5 main themes. First is location. Where is something located? Next is place. What is it like there? Then we have human-environment interaction. What is the relationship between people and the environment? Movement. How and why are places connected with one another? Lastly, region. How and why is one area similar or different from another area? So if you look down here, we do have a picture, and it's just giving us some examples of what our 5 themes are within a picture form. So you can take a second to look at these. If you need to pause the video because you need more time to look at them, feel free to pause. We start out with location, and then there's a picture for movement, human-environment interaction, region, and place. Today, we are going to look at location. And if you remember from our vocabulary video, there are 2 main types of ways that we can tell somebody where we are at. We use location. We use relative and absolute location. So one way is relative location, another way is absolute location. That is what we're going to be working on today. What is the difference between these two? And I'm going to go ahead and read this passage before we get into it a little more. So here we go. The theme of location refers to a particular place and answers the question, where is something located? We describe location in relative and absolute terms. Now we're going to talk, I'm right here in my reading where it's bolded and it says relative location. I'm going to actually highlight that. So this section here is going to tell us what is relative location. Relative location tells us where something is in relation to something else. We describe where something is using relative location. When we describe what is close, near, above, or below. It says, look at the map below. Use the United States. What oceans are around the United States? What other countries are close to the United States? It says we can describe the United States relative location using those things. So let's look at our map here. I want you to take a moment to look at the United States. This is our green map. That is all the United States, our country here. And then Alaska and Hawaii over here. I want you to describe where is Canada using relative location. So look at my pointer. That's Canada. It's this area up here. Use relative location to explain where Canada is. You can pause the video if you need another moment. So, Canada, how could we describe Canada in relation to the United States with our relative location? I could say Canada is north of the United States. All I did there is I took my compass rose here, and I know that north is pointing up, and I know Canada is north of the United States. So that is one way to share relative location for the United States. That's just one example. You might have had a different one, and that's okay. Let's look at our second part here. We just talked about relative location. Now we're going to talk about absolute location. So I'm going to highlight that. Oops, that did not do what I wanted. Let's see if my pencil will do it instead. Maybe I have to do it one word at a time, I guess. There's one. And there's my other one. All right, so absolute location, what does that mean in compared to relative location? Think back to your vocabulary video. Do you have any ideas? The absolute location of a place is the exact location. When we describe where something is using absolute location, we use a coordinate grid. Look again at North America. Our national state, Michigan, is, and I'm actually covering the answer here. I'm going to scroll up, hopefully quick so you didn't see the answer there. Can you tell me what the absolute location of Michigan is based on this map? Pause the video if you need more time, but the correct answer would be Michigan is right here. I actually have two different options. I could say it is D, 18, because that center line is right there, or I could say C, 18 as well. Both of those go into Michigan, so that could be Michigan's absolute location. This means that using our grid map here, we can say exactly where Michigan is. Okay, I'm going to switch over to Notability. Here we go. All right, so this is your assignment for today, and this is what you will be working with. This is location, absolute or relative versus absolute. So your job will be to look at these locations here. I'm going to highlight that. Look at the locations, and then you're going to tell me, is the location relative or is it absolute? That will be your job here. So for example, let's look at number 1. I live next to a park. Well, is that telling me exactly where the park is? Could I plug that into a map? I don't think so. So this one would be relative because I'm explaining that it is next to the park map. Okay? I'm going to go through this page with you, and then you are going to be doing a page that is very, very similar to this one. It will be a few more questions, but it'll be very similar. So let's look at number 2. Miss Chelsea's room is 131. What do you think? Is that relative or absolute? This would be absolute. It is absolute because it is telling me exactly where the room is. If I were to go into a school and I asked the secretary, which room is Miss Chelsea's room, and they said 131, I could walk right there, and that would be the exact location for her room. It's not saying, for example, Miss Chelsea's room is next to Mrs. Smith's room. Or it's not saying Miss Chelsea's room is near the drinking fountain. Nope, it's telling me it is room 131, and that's its exact location. If you want to pause the video and take a look at 3, 4, and 5, you can go ahead and do that, and then press play when you think you have an answer for all 3. Number 3 says, my friend lives in Saudi Arabia. Well, from this one, is there an exact location that they're giving me in Saudi Arabia? No, they're just telling me about in this area in Saudi Arabia. So that would be relative location. Number 4, I go to school in New Cairo. I go to school in New Cairo. What do you think? This one would also be relative because, again, it's not telling me exactly where the school is. It's just saying, well, it's in New Cairo. That's it. And number 5, 472 Dusty Drive, Madi, Cairo in Egypt. Is this telling me an exact address or a relative location? This is telling me the exact address, so it would be absolute location for that answer here. At the bottom, you are going to write an example of your own locations here for relative and absolute. You do need to do this in complete sentences. If you run out of room at the top up here, try to squeeze it in right below. Just do your best, or make your font smaller. If you choose to use a text box, I'm just going to write sample. You can come down here to the numbers and make your font, you have to actually highlight it, so select all, and then you can make it smaller to try to fit on that whole line there, okay? So you will come up with your own examples of a relative and absolute location that you could write here. I would even recommend looking above to give you some hints and tips for this page here. All right, so again, your page will not look exactly like this. I did change up the questions. So you will be going in and answering these on your own and writing in your own example of relative and absolute location. If you have questions, please reach out.